our resident.
The truth hurts, but it also helps.
Does it? Was that whether your dad is? Was that?
An above view of Washington resembles the goat of Menendez.
See, I told you I could out-hyperbole you. It's not just a civilization, Molly. The whole world, the universe is totally screwed.
This is Satan's America.
You know what? We're too bad for Satan. Satan doesn't want us.
Yeah.
Czars, care to weigh in?
No.
Sodom and Gomorrah in real time.
No, I don't. I'm going to sit this one out.
All right. Up next,
I
our
stop
brain.
it too.
Up next, our brains are fried.
Fake, she talks fake, any of the things, just fake, 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 fake.
Everything is fake.
Yeah.
We're living in a fake country.
Yeah.
Run by satanic overlords who have no rules. They don't apply anything to themselves.
What is wrong and right? And in our case, we are making up our reality. We decide what's right and wrong.
What's your name? Nombre.
Hello. The origin of your name.
Name. Yeah, your name.
What's in a name?
What's in a name?
What's in a name?
No, yeah, look, I agree with Tulsi. We're living in a techno feudal society.
I mean your name.
What's in a name? Name is just titles. Titles don't tell you anything.
What's in a name?
The infamous Menendez Brothers.
The brutal murder of their own.
I mean your real name.
And that's why you're seeing, that's part of the reason you're seeing this deviation from more classical liberalism. There's no better camouflage for someone who's truly dark than compassion.
Right.
Right.
Wow, that is some interesting shit.
Yeah, it's brutal, and the data is accumulated. Well, it's worse than that too. Eh? It really quite frightens me because
Jose Menendez and his wife Kitty. They were shot 8 times at close range.
Infamous Menendez Brothers.
The brutal murder of their own parents.
so there's a line of research that's been developing, I guess, over the last 6 or 7 years that I think is very relevant to this, and because I've been thinking more and more thoroughly that the culture war is actually not a political battle at all. That the political battle is a facade for the actual battle.
An above view of Washington resembles the goat of Menendez.
What's your name, anyway? A person's name is important, bro.
I thought that there was some sort of connection. Jose Menendez was obsessed with the band Menudo.
So that's why I think it's not fundamentally political, is that what's happening is that there's a small minority of people who are very manipulative, who use compassion as a camouflage, and then people who are generally and genuinely compassionate, they can be manipulated easily.
There was a rule that was known in the family that if Jose, the father, was in the room with Eric, that nobody was allowed to go down the hallway, which to me is one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. But that was known. And so... Okay, now, you now have also, in addition to that, you have Kitty's sister, Marta, whose son has passed away, Kano. She's going through his things a number of years ago. In those things, she finds a letter that predates the murder or the killing.
A year, right?
Murder. Yeah, and by about 8 months. And in the letter, he's describing to his cousin, Marta's son, the fact that this is going on. And
Eric Menendez is telling his cousin he's being molested by his father months in advance of the killings.
There was some sort of connection. Jose Menendez was obsessed with the band Menudo.
So it's just a question of who manipulates the media, who has the most money to put their reality forth.
So
Which is?
Well, there's a group of researchers, most of them centered originally at the University of British Columbia, who started studying the subclinical manifestations of psychopathy. So there's a guy there named Robert Hare.
It's time for the world to know the truth. This is the testimony that Eric and Lyle needed when they were sentenced to life.
Let's have a real big welcome for Menudo.
Eric's letter writes as follows. This is, again, his mother's sister had a son who would have been Eric's cousin, to whom Eric wrote this letter 8 months before the killings. And Eric writes, I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I can't explain it. He's so overweight that I can't stand to see him. I never know when it's going to happen. It's driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind. I know what you said before, but I'm afraid. You just don't know Dad like I do. He's crazy. He's warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle. Am I a serious wimpus? He continues. I don't know. I'll make it through this. I can't handle it, Andy. I need to stop thinking about it.
And we were doing it so that our special guests could make a perfect entrance.
Yeah.
Right here. With further ado. Menudo.
One of the most successful boy bands in history, selling over 20 million albums, setting the bar for all other boy bands after them, reaching a level of fame that no Latin American artist had up to that point. Menudo, a group like no other. This is a deep dive into the dark side of their history.
We're getting back to our animal natures. We are beasts, and we decide from gut instinct whether we have been wronged or not.
Who are some people who fit this description?
Ted Bundy.
Yes. Yes. So Menudo was created by a man named Edgardo Diaz back in 1947. And not much can be found about him. He has a very private life, but we do know that he was born in Panama in 1947, but lived most of his life in Puerto Rico.
It's Diaz.
Sid! Sid!
You got Valium?
Don't you have a Valium? You always carry Valium.
Xanax, Valium, Ativan.
Found the Valium.
Don't you have a Valium? You always carry Valium.
Great, Valium.
He eventually moved to Spain, where he got his first job as a sound engineer for another children's group named La Pandilla. And after a few years, he became their manager. This group was like a children's group, and it was formed by 4 boys and 1 girl. And eventually, when the children grew, right, the group disbanded. And that's how Diaz got the idea of creating a group that would always stay young. This group had been very successful and made Diaz a household name. So obviously he wanted to create a group that would be aimed for like children, preteens, but without that constraint of time, you know, so that the members would be always young, always children. And that's when he created this concept that he called once the Fountain of Youth. He said that he wanted to create a group that had like a rotational system. So the group would be constantly changing, constantly evolving, but staying forever young.